You mentioned Scott Hall. Are are you guys still very close? Are you guys talking all that?
I just talked to him the other day. Now, we know his situation, right?
Right.
Now, guys, this is what happened. Previous to this, I'd run across him at a show at and this was 2 years ago, that gathering that ICP does.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just shocked at the decline that Scott had fallen into. Not only thing I knew at that point was the physical decline. And then also, I know doing some of these independent shows I do, and I've knocked the idea around with a couple friends of mine, Eric, the guy that does a website, Cycle City Promotions. I said, man, it'd be great to have someone like Scott Hall to work with in these shows. And so I asked him if he was willing to do some shows, and the next show I did with him, I got him on, was in Atlanta, Georgia. And from that time I saw him in Indianapolis with the Innocent Clown Posse, to that show, I've seen another decline. So I handed out an offer to him, man, do you want to come and stay with me and my family, that I could help you physically get back in pretty good shape. And anybody that saw Scott, he stayed here for 2 or 3 months. And Kevin Nash said this, Corporal O'Reilly, they never seen Scott in that great a shape. And I think Kevin Nash said that he should have, hooked an umbilical cord to me. Now, guys, when he was here for those 3 months, I think he had a total of 3 beers. Never took any pills. So when I heard these things, and the thing about it, when he was here, he told me a lot of stuff that had been going on, but I didn't know anything like what I've heard in the last few months.
Man. Why did he decide to go from under your wing? Was he at that point good to go?
No, what it was, I got him a booking over in England, an autograph signing, and I had that. Right after that, I'd gone to France for a booking, and then he went home, and then that's when he really started, from my understanding. Now I talked to Justin Incredible 2-3 weeks ago personally, and heard some of the stuff that went on, and when I talked to Scott the other day, I'm not going to beat Scott up verbally. I'm not going to ask him questions he don't want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Scott's a friend of mine. He'll tell me anything. I don't have to ask him questions. And so I know what he's been going through. We talked about the other day about him coming back up here, and I tried to call him just about 30 minutes ago, and he didn't answer.
Mm-hmm.
I have told people too, guys, that when I knew he was having problems, I said, Scott, you can come up here. I can help you physically, and I did. And if you watch, and you guys don't, maybe I'll send you guys a copy of this documentary. If you see him, you'll say, man, I never knew he could move that. I mean, he got back in shape, looking good. He was doing agility drills with me, which that's pretty hard for him with his hip, his hip problem. But he had really got in good shape, and what I'm trying to get to, I can help anyone physically. That's my deal. But I told him when he was here that I'm not a counselor, but I would help him find a counselor. And but since then, the story is he's been through a couple rehabs, more than a couple, and so that's his story.
Okay. Real quick, is there anything you feel you have left to accomplish in wrestling, or you think, at this present time in your life and career that you've basically done everything you've wanted to do?
Well, I have basically done everything that anyone in this business could do. I'm just, the history of this business a little bit. I've been as successful, or if not more successful, at giving it chances to do something in this business, and was as much successful as anyone was. When I talk about success, I'm talking about drawing money. And, of course, a lot of guys like you guys, they're on in those shows every week or every year. The TV can fool you. It fooled me a couple times too. I give you an example when I went back to the WWF when like that derail guy. I mean, I'm trying to think of those guys' name. Anyway, Rex King and those guys. When I saw them on TV, the last time I'd been there, the business was great, and I was thinking, man, I knew those guys, and I'm not trying to be a jerk or nothing, but I never was impressed with them. And I thought, well, these guys are getting a pretty good push on TV. First TVs I did was at Macon, Georgia for them, and there probably wasn't more than just, give or take, 1,000 people or so. And when you see that, experience that, you know what I'm talking about as far as like, it's, again, I was fooled by the TV thinking, God, this place is still doing great business, but if y'all heard about the stuff, you know it wasn't good business at the time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So now, to get to your point, I think I have done about as much as anybody could do, as much as I, could have, done myself. I still think, earlier as I didn't really finish, I think as a heel, I could still accomplish as much as I did before, if not more, But I don't think, I don't know. I just hear so much stuff like over the past weekend. They're not hiring people over 30, I don't believe that's really true. I think if you had something to offer, I think they would probably use you. If the business is bad as I've heard it's been, and the business, for instance, is bad, guys, people make a lot of bad decisions trying to get out of a hole. And I've used the same analogy all the time. It's like, for instance, the difference between, like, good coaches like Belichick, Bill Parcells, Tom Landry, people like that, over the football and in college basketball, you look at Dean Smith, that guy for Duke, Coach K, Bob Knight. When those guys are in a say not a losing position, but a position when they're down, they always make a good call. But when a coach is down and he's not a really great coach, say in football, you got just a few seconds to go, you got 4th down and 40, they'll run the draw play. And it's not going to get them anywhere, And so I think that's the thing that's going on right now. And I'm not trying to be a jerk or rude or knock anyone, but I don't see them making any touchdowns right now.
Fair enough. I think we have a caller on the line. Are you up to take one call for us?
Take as many calls you got.
All right. Go ahead. John, you're on the line.
Hey, Sid, how you doing?
Good night. How you guys? I'm sorry, John. How you doing tonight?
Awesome.
I was about to say good night. Go ahead, John.
My question is, who pretty much treated you well when you were in the company, Eric Bischoff or Vince McMahon, and where did you consider yourself, like, this is home for me, where you had the most fun wrestling, WCW or WWE?
Well, this is a way I've answered that question too, John. The thing is this, WCW was like being, Boy Scouts. It was fun. You had your friends. There was no pressure. With the WWF, working for Vince, I love pressure, and I love that type of situation. So I enjoyed both of them. But now, as far as Eric Bischoff and Vince McMahon, I don't, during these interviews, I don't get to talk enough about Eric Bischoff. Now, Eric Bischoff, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated people in the business, and the reason is because Eric knew his weaknesses and his strengths. Of course, his strength was he had the ink pen of Ted Turner, but he wasn't ever pretend to be a great booker. He hired pretty good people to do things like that for him, and I think that's what makes him pretty, in my opinion, one of the more successful people in that position in the business. Was again when Vince is, it's 4th down and 40 yards for a first down, and behind it, say a touchdown, he's going to call that draw play, and That's my opinion. We all, for instance, we all can be successful when the place is sold out and we stumble onto something that sort of make things happen. Now, I believe Eric also stumbled upon it too. He didn't really create it. He did create it by, for instance, he started that fad or that trend. Remember, he hired a London Blaze. She came and threw the belt in the garbage can.
Right.
There was that situation with Lex where, and I was there, and I know this wasn't a work. For whatever reason, it's another clue that Vince is the smartest business guy in the world. Lex's contract rolled over without him knowing of it, and that's when Lex showed up on WCW. But that still didn't sort of get things going. It was when Scott Hall showed up and it was pretending to be Razor Ramon. And what happened there, guys, was, this is my opinion, it really looked like then, with the third move like that existing territory, the WWF was coming in to take over WCW. And it's another comparison I made. Last time that was done in my eyes, and I saw it, witnessed it personally, in the Memphis territory and Jim Cornette's territory from Knoxville did the same feud. And when they did that feud and went back to their own territories, both territories shut down within just a few months. And what I believe happened, I saw it, witnessed it. And this is the day of babyfaces and heels. So when you get existing territory come in to pretend to take over another existing territory, it automatically turns all your heels babyfaces. So when you go back to your territory, then you have no heels, and you have to have heels to draw money, and I think that's what happened. And when that happens, and I've said this to many people, and if you can ask those people I said this to, I said you're going to have a great success. But when it drops off, they're never going to be able to catch it. And that happened, about 12 or 14 years ago. And Vince still has not been able to catch the downhill fall.
Well, that's plain and simple, I think. I believe we've got